Walk down the right back alley in Sin City, and you can find anything. Except for tickets at the box office.
Because no one watched the fucking movie. Sin City, a dame to... Whoa! This show is raw. Now, Sin City is one of my all-time favorite movies. Hands down, one of the best Cineplex experiences I've ever had. Right next to when I got a handjob from this hot Italian/Jewish chick. Kinda had a big nose, but it wasn't a blowjob, it was a hand, so I could imagine her with a smaller nose. But whatever, we're going off topic here. After films like 300 and Watchmen, I knew adapting a film in like pure comic book style form would not be as appealing as it once was. But when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was still like ready to shit and piss my pants and even vomit a little bit. And honestly, after walking out of this movie, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, but I would say I was a little let down. I know that might sound like the same thing, but whatever, it's my choice of words. Fuck you. It's pretty difficult for me to take this film on its own merits and not compare it to the first one. Honestly, I feel like if I didn't even see the first one, I'd probably still have the same kind of issues. The film just seems to lack in life. It seems to lack in spirit. You guys remember that movie, The Spirit? No one does. I mean, don't get me wrong, the visuals are still fantastic. They're still beautiful to look at. The 3D was fucking awesome. Plus, Eva Green's tits in 3D. Whoa. Shit, you know, I thought her tits in 3D was awesome in 300 Rise of an Empire. But you get way more boob action in this one. And wow. Just, you like, get so many shots of her boobs in 3D. You just stare at them and start to examine them. And just be like, I know the exact shape of her boobs, and you remember that. Like, even my girlfriend was watching it with me, and she was like, damn. To which I was like, I know, you should have tits like her one day. To where she walked out of the theater, haven't heard from her in a few days, still waiting on that phone call, baby. Hope you're watching. The visuals, they quickly stop being enticing, and the movie just lacks some personality. It's weird, because the stories are all different, yet the tone and style feel all exactly the same. It's a serious film, and it's more serious than it is fun. That's why the first Sin City was so awesome. The four stories felt very different. The characters felt different. Their personalities were more defined. They were more distinguished. And the film itself kind of had like a romantic theme about it that was really felt. It was just a true love letter to the comics where the emotion was really captured. This one felt like Frank Miller and Rodriguez weren't immersing us into the world. They were kind of just photographing it. And the way they structured these stories and how to tell them, I didn't really care for. It was obvious they were trying to have the stories tie in more than how the previous film had them tie in, but it kind of worked against the movie. Like, it starts off with Marv, and it's cool because it's Marv, and it's exciting to see him again. They establish this story, but they never bring the story back. They never wrap up the story. There's really no point to that story. I mean, Mickey Rourke as Marv, still fucking solid. The guy, he's Marv. Marv in this movie kind of felt like he was just there because we liked him in the last one. It was just like whenever a main character needed help, they would call on Marv. It lacks sense of danger and suspense because we knew Marv would still be alive because this is a prequel. So knowing he's going to be alive really makes you like, okay, I guess we're just going to sit back and watch Marv kill people. Like, Mickey Rourke was bringing his, Marv game to the table, but the way he was captured was, he didn't feel like anything special in this film. But I must say, I have one complaint about this franchise that deals with Marv. In the first Sin City, he has sex with this really good-looking hooker named Goldie. I don't care if you sell your body for money. I don't care how desperate you are to survive. Your pussy would never get wet for someone who looked like that. There are plenty of women who do not get wet for me, okay? So everything gonna get away from me, it ain't gonna get away from this guy, okay? Then we see Johnny, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Let's just establish something up front. Let's get something clear. If a movie looks like shit, but you see Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it, you're like, the movie's probably gonna be good in some way. Just Jiggle's the shit, man. Fuck that JGL crap. Jiggle. That sounds way cooler. What's up, Jiggly Jelly? This was my favorite story out of the whole film. From my understanding, it was written specifically for the movie. Jiggle is awesome as Johnny. He's back being suave and sexy in the Gordon-Levitt way. He's an awesome poker player. And now, to me, this story had the most life to it. Johnny was very different from the other stories. Like, there were some great poker scenes to watch. Exploring Johnny was really cool. And the story itself doesn't have that much violence, yet when the violence is there, it's very impactful. It's cringeworthy. As opposed to the other stories where they have plenty of gore, but you kind of become numb to it. He was the only character in this film that I was truly invested in. And then we see Nancy again, and I gotta say, Jessica Alba's performance as Nancy Callahan was 10 times, like 50 times better than it was in the first Sin City. I mean, it starts off with her and she's back as a stripper, and it's been like 10 years and I still jerk off to her. She sees Hardigan everywhere she goes. She wants revenge against Rourke, and it's the last story they conclude. And watching her go from badass stripper to Lady Vengeance was pretty fucking sweet. I mean, I don't know how she got so good at murdering a bunch of people. She gets a crossbow and she's like perfect at it, but whatever. The weird thing about it is Hardigan's in the story, played by asshole celebrity Bruce Willis. You hear Hardigan's internal monologue, even though he's dead, but then, so it must be coming from Nancy's mind, but you also hear Nancy's internal monologue, so it's like, is Hardigan a ghost? You're like, nah, it's just a split personality, but then they do something at the end of the story where you're like, wait a minute. Is Hardigan a ghost? I like the idea of Hardigan like still haunting Nancy's soul, but it sort of felt like they knew they had Bruce Willis back, so they should do more with him. But they kind of threw in stuff that just ended up confusing me. Or they hop into the real nits and grits of the Nancy story. Fucking Scarface. It hops into the Dwight story, the Dame to Kill For story. Here's my problem. It goes a bit of Marv, a bit of Johnny, a bit of Nancy, then like a whole hour of Dwight. And he honestly had the least interesting story. Which sucks, because this is the Dame to Kill For story. I mean, this is Dwight before he got the surgery, before he looked like Clive Owen. I mean, Josh Brolin, I love. He's one of my favorite actors out there. He's great at playing badasses. And I've seen his ass in movies. He's got a badass, yeah. He's perfectly cast for this role, okay? And everyone's been talking about the Dame to Kill For. Believe the hype. Eva Green really does steal the show. She's seductive, she has an innocence about her, yet she's a total fucking cunt. You don't want to get near her, but at the same time you kind of want to put your penis inside of her. Same time she has like an old school noir performance, yet you feel like she could dirty fuck, you know, like really hardcore, like modern day porn. There's just incredible amounts of life to her performance. And it made the story like really worth watching. If the performances weren't really good, I probably wouldn't have cared much for it. Because it sort of felt like they just captured the pages instead of truly feeling the emotion behind it. It could have been a really strong, like, tragic romance story, but instead, it moves fast, yet it's kind of boring at times. It's strange how it's like it's all there, but my heart just ain't feeling it. And when Dwight finally gets a surgery and he's supposed to look like the Clive Owen version, it was just kind of weird, because it was like, why don't they just ask Clive Owen to make a cameo? I mean, I don't think Clive Owen's that busy. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still some fantastic sequences in this movie. There's still great acting throughout, but it just didn't grasp me the way I felt it should have, you know? But yeah, I mean, overall, I felt it doesn't have as much personality as it could have. But still, there's enough sweet things for me to say. Let me get straight to the point here. All in all, I gotta say, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For, got it, for the most part, right. Alright guys, thanks for checking out our review for Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. Why don't you go ahead, scroll that comment box below, and tell me, which celebrity female do you think has the best titties? If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, or any of that social network shit, let's do it. And last but not least, if you want to get updated every time one of my reviews or videos is out, go ahead and click on this button by my dick to subscribe. That's right, the dick. Let me tell you something about this little sinner. He has so many dames that are willing to kill for a moment of his time. Punchline.